You know when you're in fight camp where you just get fucking
What the hell?
past camp. So I'm stoked, bro. I'm excited. And February 22nd, like I said before, I will be serving chow mein.
Oh, shut up, nigga. Yeah, which leads me to anything special for this one?
You guys might see a fortune cookie at Wayne. You might see something. I'm stereotyping, bro.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog.
So recently, kind of recently, I made a video about Henry Cejudo. Who will Henry Cejudo fight next? And literally a week later, my answer was given to me. Song Yadong. Yeah. Or as Henry Cejudo likes to call him, Big Dong, Song Yadong, something like that. Anyway, this fight night's coming up in a few days, and normally I don't really make a specific video for the predictions, but today I might as well, innit? Because it's Henry Cejudo, one of my favorite fighters. So let's just get straight into it. So the first fight of this card is Modestas Bukauskas, the Baltic Gladiator, versus Rafael Cerqueira. Modestas Bukauskas, a decent record. I mean, 16-6. Not okay. That's not amazing, but in terms of within the UFC, recently he's been doing better. Obviously, a while ago, back in like 2020, 2021, he was kind of losing a lot. He had one of the most brutal TKO losses against KO. But yeah, I mean, obviously, recently he got knocked out by Vito Petrino. Not exactly an amazing look. But, he's got some decent wins. He just won against Marcin Prachnio via submission, so that was pretty decent. But in terms of his opponent, Rafael Cerqueira, he's only ever fought once in the UFC, and that was against the last Ottoman, Ivo Aslan, the Turkish power, who is fighting on this card, by the way. But yeah, I mean, we haven't really got to see how good he is. He was undefeated before, he fought Ivo Aslan, and he's only ever fought once in the UFC, so I don't know how good he's really is, but, he seemed decent. Before that, he only ever really got, KO victories. So in terms of who wins this fight, I would have to say I would go for Rafael Cerqueira to win this. I don't really know much about him, but I would say he could get a TKO victory here. So apparently this fight has now just been added. Austin Vanderford versus Nikolai Veretennikov. So yeah, I mean, I did not realize until right now, but yeah, this Vanderford guy, he hasn't fought. He hardly ever fights. I mean, he's had like one fight in the last 3 years or 2.5 years, but he did win his last fight via TKO. Also, he's never fought in the UFC, so that's intéressant. Nikolai, this brother, I mean, as you can probably tell, this guy's low-key mocking me right now, I can't lie, but he's only fought once in the UFC, and he did lose by a split decision. Who do I think is going to win? Okay, so this Nikolai guy actually fought against Michael Morales on the Contender Series as well. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just go Austin. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna just go Austin Vanderford to get this one done. Next fight is Nursultan Ruziboyev versus Eric McConaughey. Man, Nursultan, he's an interesting character. I mean, he hasn't actually fought that many times within the UFC, but he's fought loads of times outside the UFC. He's only 31. He's had, 43 fights? That's kind of crazy, but obviously, he was on a long win streak before he lost to Joaquin Buckley. Most of his losses just came, kind of scattered throughout his career, but, yeah, I mean, the last time he lost was against Joaquin Buckley in May of last year on the Lewis versus Nascimento card. I think that was a St. Louis card, but yeah. Before that, he had won a lot of times. He knocked out Cedric Dumas. He knocked out Bruno Ferreira. And before that, he was on a long win streak in, some other promotions. So, he's been on pretty decent form. He's massive for the welterweight division? Yeah, this brother's massive for the welterweight division. I don't know which fight weight this is going to be at. I think it's probably middleweight, but actually, no, it might be. I don't know, because apparently Eric McConaughey is a middleweight. But yeah, I mean, this brother, Eric McConaughey, he's never fought in the UFC, of course. He's been fighting in Tough and Uff, whatever the hell that is, but yeah, 5-fight win streak, all by finish. No, actually, 3 of them by finish. but he has been knocked out twice. I don't know. He's kind of old, 34. I'm going to just go Nur Sultan Raziboyev to get this one done. I don't really know anything about Eric McConaughey, to be honest. Next up, we got Ricky Simon versus Javid Basharat. Obviously, one half of the Basharat brothers. But it's hard to call who's going to win this one, to be honest. Ricky Simone's a very, very hit-and-miss fighter. You know, he'd win one. No, actually, no. He either goes in a long winning streak or a long losing streak. You know, he has got quite a few wins. He went on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC, but he has lost his last 3 fights. So yeah, he lost to Song Yadong, Mario Bautista, Vinicius Oliveira. To be fair, you know what? He does have a win against Merab Dvalishvili, which is kind of crazy, and Montel Jackson. So he has got some wins that have aged pretty well. But you know, he lost to Uriah Faber, lost to Rob Font. So he's basically lost the best, but Javid Bashra, I don't know if you can count him as the best. He's 14-1. Obviously lost his last fight against Ayman Zahabi. Pretty close fight, but you know, he did lose it at the end of the day. Ayman Zahabi actually ended up getting ranked because of that win, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, yeah. In terms of who's going to win this, I think Javid Bashra has got this in the bag, to be honest. Yeah, I'm going to just go for Javid Bashra to get this one done by decision. Next fight, Mansour Abdul Malik versus Nick Klein. Mansour Abdul Malik is knocking this guy out first round. Next fight, Andre Fili versus Mel Quizael Costa. Loki, this is the battle between the two most chopped brothers in the UFC. Like, to be fair, like, Andre Fili's not actually that chopped, but he's just got some crazy bad tattoos. Anyway, Andre Fili, 24-11. This guy's been in the UFC for a while, man. Obviously, we saw him get knocked the hell out by Danny Gay last year, at the beginning of last year. But to be fair, he did get a decent split decision win over Cub Swanson in June of last year. This guy is a very, very hit-and-miss fighter. He wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one. And he's been like that throughout his entire career. But he has fought some of the best. You know, he fought Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez, Calvin Keita, Michael Johnson. Who else? Sadiq Youssef, Bryce Mitchell. He's got some decent fights, but the only problem is he's lost to all those guys. But those are some pretty decent guys. In terms of Mel Quizael Costa, you know, he's had a few fights in the UFC now. He won his last one by submission against I'm not going to try to pronounce that. And, you know, he did get submitted by Thiago Moises and knocked out by Steve Garcia, but I mean, those are two pretty decent fighters. So yeah, overall, I would say Andre Fili's got this. You know, he is kind of getting up there in age now, 34, but you know, I do still think he kind of got it. He could get this win here, and I'm gonna go Andre Fili to get this one done. Alright, now we're finally getting into the big name fights. Well, kind of big name fights. These fights are getting good. Ion Kutalaba versus Ibo Aslan. I don't even know what to say about Ion Kutalaba. This guy is very, very strange. 18-10, so not the most amazing record. He's also a very disliked fighter. I can see why. He's very, I don't know, like egotistical, cocky, whatever. But he has been fighting in the UFC for a while, since 2016. He has also fought some decent guys. Obviously, he lost to Jared Cannonier a while back ago. Also fought Glover Teixeira. To be fair, he does have a win over Khalil Roundtree, so that win has aged pretty well. But apart from that, he's basically lost to everyone. He lost to Ankalaev twice. Lost to Ryan Spann, lost to Johnny Walker, bro, by submission. That's crazy. And Kennedy Nzechukwu, he has recently won a split decision against Ivan Erslan. But in terms of Ibo Aslan, those sound like the exact same guy. Ibo Aslan, the last Ottoman, this guy, low-key got some aura. You know, he only has one loss, but all of his wins have come by way of KO/TKO. His last fight, obviously, where he fought Rafael Cerqueira, he got the TKO in the first round. Man, in terms of who's going to win this fight, I would have to say Ibo Aslan. I do think he's a rising contender. I do think he will, you know, do well in the UFC. And I do think he will knock out Ion Kutalaba. I don't know which round, maybe first or second round, but yeah, I do think Ibo Aslan gets a KO here. Next fight, Alonzo Menefield versus Julius Walker. Man, Alonzo Menefield is such an odd guy, man. This guy's got some crazy ass power. He's got decent power. Not crazy, I won't say crazy power, but he has got decent power. This guy can knock you out in the first round, but he can also get knocked out in the first round. Do you get what I'm saying? In his last 2 fights, he got knocked out. Obviously, Carlos Ulberg knocked him out in 12 seconds, which was not amazing. And Azamat Mazakhanov. To be fair, 2 guys which have since done pretty well in the UFC. But yeah, I mean, recently Alonzo Menefield's fight IQ has not exactly been amazing. Julius Walker, this guy, bro, don't even know anything about him. 6-0. Pretty young. He's actually 25. But all of his wins have come by way of finish. And yeah, he's undefeated. But in terms of, I don't know how he's got a ranked opponent for his first fight. That's crazy. But yeah, in terms of who's winning this fight, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I don't know if I can even bet against, like, I don't even know if I can, bet with Alonzo Menefield anymore, because this guy is so unpredictable. I will say, oh, he is actually old as hell now as well. He's 37 now. Damn. I would say you have to go for Alonzo Menefield here, just because Julius Walker, this guy's never fought in the UFC. And even though he does have a 100% finish rate, I don't think he's ever fought anyone of UFC caliber. And Alonzo Menefield definitely is decent power and decent at fighting, so I'm going to go with him to get this one done. Next stop, I was about to say featured fight. This is not the featured fight. Gene Silva versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. Finally, one of the fighting nerds are fighting. The first male one, the bloody two other female ones are both lost this year. So cheers for that. But yeah, Gene Silva, obviously last year this guy went on some crazy tear within the UFC. I think that was his first ever year within the UFC as well. Yeah, it was. 3 wins last year, all 3 coming by way of finish. Flipping put a clinic on Drew Dober, that was crazy. And the first person to ever knock out Charles Jourdain, obviously got a nice KO over Weston Wilson as well. Yeah, so far he's looked pretty unstoppable within the UFC. Melsik Baghdasaryan, 8-2, so not actually a bad record either, but he has lost to Joshua Kulabau back in 2020. Bro, this guy's hasn't fought for ages, bro. He hasn't fought since July of 2023. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't lie. I'm not really too sure if I can really bet against Gene Silva here. He has proved that he is a legit contender. So yeah, I'm going to go with Gene Silva to get this one done here. Next fight, Rob Font, Gene Matsumoto. This is a catchweight bout because bloody Rob Font was supposed to fight Dominic Cruz, and he pulled out and then retired from the bloody sport. So yeah, cheers for that. Rob Font versus Gene Matsumoto, though. Decent replacement fight. Obviously, Gene Matsumoto is undefeated. Does he deserve a ranked fight? I don't know. Especially Rob Font, who's actually a decent opponent. Obviously, Gene Matsumoto, his last fight was in October against Brad Katona. It was a UD, but a lot of people did think that Brad Katona actually won the fight. It was definitely a close fight. It wasn't a very convincing win. But yeah, I mean, overall, he's an alright fighter. I don't think he's going to be able to beat Rob Font, to be honest. I think Rob Font is a very decent opponent, and even though he is getting up there in age, he has proved that he can still win. I mean, he literally just won against Kyler Phillips in October. It was on the same card, actually. I think these guys might have fought on the exact same card. Yeah, they literally fought on the exact same card. Okay, yeah, but yeah, Rob Font obviously won against Kyler Phillips in his last bout. But he has lost a lot of times, mostly by decision, to be fair, but only to the best, right? Figueiredo, Sandhagen, Vera, Aldo. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would go with Rob Font to get this one done here by decision. Next fight, Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. Bro, this is a banging co-main event. I'm actually so surprised that they didn't actually chuck this on a fight night main event. Like, this is exactly the type of fight you would see on a fight night main event. But, I mean, fair enough for putting this in the co-main of such a stacked card. But these guys have fought before. Obviously not in the UFC, but I think it was before in... What was it in? LFA, maybe? I can't remember, but I think it was in LFA. And Anthony Hernandez did win by UD, and it was a 5-round fight. So, yeah, I mean, these guys already fought each other. They already kind of know how each other fight. Obviously, it was a long time ago, so they've both changed as fighters, but, you still kind of have an idea. Anthony Hernandez recently has been just going on a tear, bro. This guy's actually been so good recently. 13-2 for him as his record, and he obviously, in his last 4 fights, he's had finishes, and 2 of them, one of them was Roman Kopylov, who's now a ranked fighter, and the other one is Michel Pereira, who's also a ranked fighter. That Michel Pereira fight was such a good performance from him, and I do think he will win this fight as well. Obviously, these guys are both very high ranked within the division. Well, not very high ranked, but quite highly ranked in the division. But Brandon Allen did lose his last fight to Imamov quite convincingly. So yeah, I will go for Anthony Hernandez to get this one done. I would say by submission. By submission. And finally, of course, the main event: Henry Cejudo vs Song Yadong. Man, I don't know. This one's a very tough one to call. I mean, you know, there's so many factors that you have to take into consideration here. I'm also going to try not to be biased because Cejudo is one of my favorite fighters of all time. But yeah, I mean, obviously looking at their records, Henry Cejudo 16-4, only really lost to the best. Obviously lost to Demetrius Johnson back in the day, and Joseph Benavidez by split decision. He then went on a long win streak, became double champ. Obviously then retired for 3 years, and then came back to fight Aljamain Sterling, lost by split decision, and then just lost to Merab Dvalishvili in February of last year. So he's basically only lost to the best. But in terms of Song Yadong, again, in the UFC, he's actually had a very, very good record. He kind of lost a lot of times outside of the UFC. But then in the actual UFC, yeah, he did do very well. I mean, he's like, 10-2 or 10-3 in the UFC, something like that. So yeah, very decent, record within the UFC. A lot of finishes as well. He has got a very, very decent KO power, So yeah, this one's so hard to call. I mean, they're both very good fighters, but I think Henry Cejudo's age is really, a big factor to play in this. He might be catching up to him, so I'm not too sure who to go for here. Obviously, Song Yadong, last fight, he lost against Piotr Yan. I mean, I'm not going to discredit him for that, because first of all, it was a pretty close fight, and second of all, it's Piotr Yan at the end of the day. Like, that guy's probably going to get another title shot soon. Yeah, I'm going to go for... Yeah, overall, I'm going to just go for it. Henry Cejudo, bro. Obviously, double champ. Olympic gold medal in wrestling. I know he loves to rinse that one, but it is true, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to go for Henry Cejudo to get this one done here by decision. Hopefully he does it. And then, bro, please, if he wins, he needs to call out Pantoja, bro. But bloody hell. He needs to call out Pantoja, bro. Yeah? That would be the biggest fight. And then after that fight, he should retire, yeah? I think that's it. But yeah, that's my predictions. You guys let me know in the comment section down below whether you agree with my takes. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Safe.